The two versions of the gay agenda. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and something that people don't hear about so much anymore is the gay agenda, which is the notion that homosexuality is actually some sort of conspiracy for somebody or other to do something to children, I think, to make civilization a certain way, as a way to spite the Christian God, or something. And maybe Allah warns about the gay agenda too. Maybe Allah is very against the gay agenda. I'm not really sure though, because it's honestly something that I never heard about a whole bunch, even when people actually talked about it. As somebody who grew up right in the city of super gay Seattle in the 1990s, but people still make jokes about it a lot, saying things like, "Oh yeah, the gay agenda? You mean brunch, gym, catching up on RuPaul's Drag Race, and then clubbing?" Still, it's something that I've been asked about on YouTube at least a few times, and then just yesterday, somebody left a comment talking about it, and I legitimately can't tell whether or not they were trolling. While their comment was brief, it seemed like they were saying that the gay agenda is real, it's good, and that I wasn't doing it justice or something to that effect. That got me thinking about what the gay agenda supposedly is, and the fact that, again, I still don't even know what exactly it is supposed to be, which is kind of funny considering I've been openly homosexual since 1996 and have lived in places like Seattle, New York City, and San Francisco. I then realized that I could probably come up with a fairly simple way to describe the gay agenda in terms of what many people are thinking that it is, but coming from both sides. Because believe it or not, I think that there might actually be things about these theories worth pondering. The first paradigm I will explain is the anti-gay American traditionalist theories regarding the gay agenda, and I'll do my best to do justice to what I've casually heard coming from such people over the years. The basic idea seems to be that gay men, and maybe certain women, try to instill homosexuality into young boys and maybe young girls by way of media and social grooming so that they can create more homosexuals, as if homosexuals have to be created. Some traditionalists probably think of this in terms of having an end goal of toppling the American Republic on account of the fact that they believe that feminizing males will be a good way to subvert the government and leave us vulnerable to a foreign threat or something, which is why many people were vehemently opposed to gays being allowed to serve in the military. Both of these theories I believe to be rather incorrect, though of course it's not like I can say there's no possibility that there's any truth to them, because truthfully, how on earth would I know whether or not a foreign government is paying for gay-centric media in some way? And how can I rule out the possibility that there are some gay men who actively try to recruit young boys? Still, I don't think the foreign government thing is super likely, and I know from meeting thousands of gay men that the majority of them didn't meet older gay men before they started having homosexual thoughts, and most gay guys I know tell me that they started to have crushes on males before they were 10. However, there are some traditionalists that probably think of the gay agenda in terms of it being paradigm 2, which is that the gay agenda is some weird, creepy, communist, feminist plot to feminize boys so that we can live in a communist, feminist utopia or something. And honestly, I cannot entirely dismiss that as a possibility in certain facets of culture, because we've certainly all had to have seen the feminist articles about this type of thing by now, claiming straight guys should have sex with men. Long story short, it does seem to be the case that feminists would prefer that straight men became homosexual, probably on account of the fact that less rapes would happen if every guy was gay, and due to the fact that feminists only think about the world in terms of preventing rape and domestic violence against women anyway. And so, to them, turning all the boys gay probably sounds like a good idea. However, that also opens up a new can of worms because gay men are not obedient to the women they come across in the way that straight men are. Women can't easily leech off of gay men to pay their bills, and let's not forget women actually get rather upset when there aren't any guys that are interested in having sex with them. Thus, eventually the feminists were bound to turn on gay men because of that stuff, demanding that we be non-binary pansexuals or something, because maybe that would solve the problem. I don't know. They were getting a bit desperate when they started legitimately believing that they could police our dating preferences and masculine presentation. But the feminists probably didn't ever really think that they'd get as far with their little plan as they actually did, at least not as soon as they did. You see, since as far back as the 1970s and maybe 1960s, there has been parts of feminist theory that have said it might be possible to abolish gender distinctions from the human species entirely. So I think what really happened here is fairly simple. Feminists latched on to the homosexual male population during the AIDS crisis because it was easy and we were at our weakest. Feeling confident that they had us under their thumb by the late 90s, they eventually decided to proceed with their plan of complete feminization of the gay male demographic during the Obama years. It didn't entirely work, of course, and a probable majority of gay men rebelled subconsciously, and continued to both present masculine and date masculine guys. And oddly enough, the rebels actually included many of the biggest proponents of feminizing gay men themselves, like Jeff Lavelle and Gabe Gonzalez, who are both extremely masculine looking, but have careers in media that revolve around demonizing masculinity for some reason. That all said, the traditionalists were onto something when they noticed something weird happening in terms of pride parades and drag queens in media being super femme, and maybe feminists kinda encouraged that to happen. Sure, maybe, fine. But unfortunately for the big ol' conspiracy theorist in me, I'd say that the majority of it probably has nothing to do with feminism at all whatsoever. For the most part, images of sexy men in media are put there not as a conspiracy to turn little boys gay, but because sex sells. Sure, not every straight guy looks at an Abercrombie and Fitch advertisement and thinks that he should wear those clothes, but practically every gay guy did early last decade, and I imagine lots of girls bought their boyfriend's stuff at that store after looking at ads like this. Furthermore, regarding the allegation that people were trying to convert children, well, honestly, gay men tend not to want a whole lot to do with children at all, on average. And for the most part, we also don't want to actually become women and smash the state to live in some feminist communist utopia. Though, in fairness, many guys go through drag phases when drag is trendy, which it was over the past 10 years, but that's definitely going out of fashion as I speak. Really, the truth about gay men from the Prince of all Queens is that we're a population of males within the human species that has been around in every recorded civilization, which implies that there is an actual evolutionary purpose to our existence, which leads to us popping up in every community on Earth. Maybe we are simply mostly nature's built-in population control, or maybe there's something more complicated about us, which is why we actually tend to be of above-average intelligence. Regardless, if my word means anything to you, then listen up. Neither the feminists nor the traditionalists understand us. So if you want to actually know what gay guys are all about, try checking out the Gaytriarchy channel, where we'll be streaming every Friday evening. Thanks!